This episode is powered by Safety FM.
This podcast is being sponsored by safetyconsultantblueprint.com.
In this interview today, we're going to be talking to David Vasquez, who was working for communication for Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and he had a job in the governor's mansion as press secretary. But he has recently left to join the Stand Together Foundation that was started by the Koch brothers. Dave was also the campaign manager for Bob Cortez. Dave was also credited for serving as press aide for President Donald Trump's inaugural committee during the transition, and then moving on to the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, joined on as External Affairs Manager. So in this interview today, we're going to learn a lot about communications. We're going to talk about press releases. We're going to talk about just a few things about gaining influence as well. So it's a good one. And there's an even special thing that you're going to find out about Mr. Vasquez. Stay tuned.
Do you feel that your knowledge would be better served if you were your own boss? Your knowledge can help more people improve their workplace safety. Most of what you know may be wasting in a job that limits what you can do for the overall health and safety of workers. Now is the time to start your own business while you're still working for your current employer. Start your own safety consultant business with the Safety Consultant Blueprint course. Get your business legal in just a week. Brand yourself as an authority in safety, even on a shoestring budget. No more stressing about how to price your services fairly, but still make a profit. And experience the amazing feeling of being your own boss. This 100% online video course is instructor-led and will give you detailed steps to keep you focused as to what to do next to grow your business. Lay out strategies to keep you maximizing your marketing and networking efforts. And explain how to get money in between clients. Register today at safetyconsultantblueprint.com and enter the code PODCAST.
I'm Dave Vasquez, and I'm a spokesman here at Stand Together. Stand Together is a philanthropic organization that also engages throughout 32 different states and also on a national level on just about every issue and policy that you can think of up here in D.C. And it's actually the organization started by the billionaire investor Charles Koch, originally by him and his brother David Koch, who has since passed. But I've been up here now about a month, and before that, I was with the governor's office down in Florida. I've managed a few campaigns at the local level. Did a statewide campaign recently, and I've been involved in some national politics for a few years now. So that's sort of the brief 30,000-foot overview.
See, you already know like the elevator speech thing, don't you?
Yeah.
You got it down. So for my listeners who don't know, David's my nephew. My wife, her brother is married to David's mother. And so you've been in our family for, goodness, I think you're like 13 or so, or what was that?
I was probably about 12, maybe 11 when my mom and Doug got married. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a while. Good times.
And you have been like extremely modest in that elevator speech over there. So, as modest could be, because not only were you the campaign manager for what was it, Bob Cortez? Mm-hmm. So you got him to win. You're on your team over there helping him win that. You started with Governor Ron DeSantis in the beginning, before he even hired you on as the press secretary.
Right.
So That's a little modest. You might want to put that in there somewhere.
I will say, working for the governor is probably one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had, and I'm really grateful for it. When we first came on and we started the whole thing, we had a group of about 4 of us in total doing all of everything that was needed. And then by the end of it, we had spent something in the vicinity of like a couple, somewhere in the vicinity of about 30 million. And we had about 50 people employed statewide, and we had a full-time operation up and running. But what was really cool was I traveled from city to city with the governor. And that was during the campaign. And then when we went into the administration, then it was even better, because then it was the official state business that we were doing. But we were going from, we would do probably 3, sometimes 4 cities a day, where we would, start the day in Tallahassee, make our way over to the Treasure Coast, do an event there, or some kind of, grand opening of a business, or sometimes a big announcement that the governor had to make, and, head over to Miami, do some kind of meeting over there, and then head over to, Tampa before getting back to Tallahassee. And that was sort of, the day in, day out of the job. But,
wow.
but that was really, really cool. So we got to meet so many people, and we got to, do so many things that it was kind of a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And, it's funny, people just like him. People just like the guy. He's just an everyday, very hands-on guy. And, we'd stop at a Wawa, or we'd stop at a Dunkin' Donuts, and people would just kind of come up and want to shake your hand, and they want a picture, and it was cool. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah, excellent. Now, in doing that, I know you've got so many different nuances to not only the business side of the politics, and my bachelor's is in marketing, but my master's is in public administration, and my goal was I was going to get into most of my career. I was either municipal work with the city. I worked for City of Orlando, and then I also worked for a bunch of other city or municipalities. And I was going to be a superintendent, which I was. And then when I was about to leave, I was going to be a director of utilities. And I was just, in the lower end of politics in that position. But the people that I was dealing with were board members, and I was dealing with a whole bunch of people who were, at one point, one of our board members was placed by the governor at the time. And, having these high-end conversations with people who could make or break your job is always nerve-wracking, right? So in doing that, I kind of have a feel that you have to really learn how to be a excellent communicator, if you will. And then you're fluent in Spanish too, so that makes you such a wonderful asset. So how do you get to be so comfortable with people when you're only meeting them in just a little bit of fraction at a time, and you have a message you need to get across? And how do you deal with those nuances at such a quick, rapid pace?
Yeah, I would tell you that now in 2020, our attention spans have completely gone off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you that you have like 30 seconds at most to either make an impression on someone or tell them something that really makes them stop and think.
Yep.
And
that's face to face, or is that?
That's everything. I would tell you that's everything. I would tell you that calculus went into a lot of our media plan. That calculus went into a lot of our ads. That calculus went into a lot of our digital plans. And it also, from person to person and meeting to meeting, I think that also carries that weight, because what you can get done in, a 30 seconds to 1 minute of conveying your message to someone, or getting your point across, or convincing them of something. Mm-hmm. It really happens in a snap. And you either made that impression and came away with that objective, or you didn't. And it's not the end of the world if you didn't. You might have another chance, but the attention span of the modern American has just absolutely, gone off a cliff. And I'm guilty of it too. I absolutely, if a meeting is going on too long, the interest, the focus, the attention, it absolutely draws down. So you really have a short window. And I think that's an opportunity. I think that opportunity, once you have that face-to-face, or you have a phone call, or you have a quick meeting, or someone introduces you, I think that really is an opportunity to right off the bat make an impression and make yourself known and memorable.
So how do you do that and still keep your personality? Because that's the key. It's great to say that you got to do it. So what's your tips on doing that? Because truly there's a whole bunch of different ways and thinkings on that. I know Tony Robbins uses neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And they have a system called anchoring, and then also another one, mirroring, where you could mirror someone's movements and make them feel as comfortable as possible. So is there a way, what's your tips?
I see. I got in brute honesty, I'm not that deep. I would tell you that my what always goes through my mind is to be very direct and to put it into a context that people haven't really heard before. That's always my way of thinking. Is one, don't beat around the bush. My big thing is to go straight for the jugular, go straight for the bottom line. We have got to get X done. We have got to do this. And that's with everyone. That's with people you meet. That's with subordinates who are under you. That's with people who are parallel sort of in your organization that you're working with to accomplish something. All of these things, I think it's a direct message that you're getting across. And I think any time that you spend sugarcoating something or adding adjectives around a place where they don't need to be, or making a different point altogether, you are wasting time, and you are also just absolutely shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to conveying that message and getting the bottom line across. And so my big thing is be direct. Be direct always. Just go straight for it, and don't apologize for it either. There's no sense in wasting time at all.
All right. So firm handshake, good smile, smell good, be prepared, make sure you know what you want to say, to have the end in mind, and then go get them.
Absolutely. I would say preparation for whatever you're doing is bar none the most important thing. I think if you come to a meeting or a meet and greet or an opportunity and you're not prepared and you don't have all your ducks in a row, I think you've wasted the opportunity. So I think directness and preparation are probably the two most important things, without a doubt.
Yeah, and my audience are people who have, in some ways, it's two different type of audience. Some are actually working at a business, and they are the safety officer at that company. And they may be thinking about going on their own. They're not sure or not, and they want to be their own boss and be a consultant. And that's what I do as a consultant. So I help mentor them in that. But the other side is the person who took that plunge, and they're their own boss. They're the entrepreneur. They have to make or break. If they can't do this job and be their own boss, they're going to end up having to work for someone else. So they have to take that chance. And when they do, these tips are really going to help them. So one of the ones that I was really thinking about is press releases, because I know that there's a whole bunch of people, and I do a lot of webinars. So people hire me, I do webinars, and I remember every once in a while, well, more than once in a while, I Google my own name. Do you do that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
I even got a Google alert. So whenever, oh, you do?
Yeah, that's very smart, actually. That's the way to really sort of monitor, just in case.
Well, I just figured out there's a whole bunch of people using my previous webinars, and I never signed a contract with them, so I got to figure all that stuff out. But what I was thinking is, I saw one of those companies use a press release on one of my webinars. I'm like, that's a smart idea. So what's the good and the bad on press releases, and then how do you actually get, or who do you go to get a press release when it's time for a solopreneur like myself to say, all right, I'm doing a new service, I'm doing a new business, or I'm even going to do a freebie class for somebody, and I want to make sure I get them bang out of my bucks for marketing.
Sure. Just one question before I go into: is the press release, is the objective to target the media, or is the objective to target potential listeners and individuals?
It'll be the target. Mostly the money for us will always come from the business owner. So you really want to target the business owner, and the industries are generally going to be construction, manufacturing, that type of industries that are going to, all chemical stuff like that. They're really going to be the ones that will pay for consultation services. So they're the target market.
Got it. Two big thoughts on this. One, I would tell you to divide up the targeting by your media and then your non-media. Anyone who falls into that non-media category, those business owners, those individuals, the people thinking about making it on their own, the people who are currently working for someone else, I would put them in the category all their own. And then anyone who works for the press, the media, the outlets, TV, radio, television, podcasts, everything else is sort of in its own category. And the reason I say that is that's going to determine your voice of the press release. That's going to determine everything that you do on the messaging front of the press release. So in the media space, my golden rule is I never want to be white noise to the media. We live in sort of the 2020 24-hour news cycle, and you would be absolutely amazed. Sometimes I think that I have a lot of emails in my inbox. It turns out the media has just millions upon millions of messages a day of people saying, hey, you should cover this. Hey, this is important. Hey, get this out there. And, it's really up to them and their editors to sort of disseminate that information. And, a lot of times, what you're doing and the folks in your industry might have something very interesting that the media might want to share. There's tons of business journals. There's a lot of, the Wall Street journals of the world and their smaller sort of counterparts. Yeah. They may be very interested. And I think that is an angle all of itself when you're pitching to them, when you've got, a brand new consulting firm out, when you've got a brand new product out, when you've got a brand new, take on the industry. That you want to make waves in the media that might actually attract clients your way, it might attract business owners your way, it might attract the attention your way. I think there is absolutely a lane there and sort of a way to go on that front. And I think that has to be targeted. I'll tell you, the number one thing on that front is you have to stand out. The media, they don't want to see, the same things as all their competitors, and they don't want to see the same things that have already been covered. They're looking for the new, they're looking for the groundbreaking, they're looking for the attention-grabbing headlines. So I think that is, like bar none, the number one thing I would tell you with the press releases for the media side.
Okay, now, hold on, before you get to the other one, while we're thinking of that one, so is this, I'm sending them a press release, media, it's going to be in their email, someone's email box, and I need my email header to shout at them saying, yes, I am different.
Yes.
Who's this person I'm sending it to?
And time out. The shouting is not in all caps. Just for everyone's awareness, do not send the media all cap message subject lines, please. They will
work on your copy, right?
They will likely say, "Why is this person screaming at me?" Move on with their day.
Who's getting it?
You absolutely nailed it on the head. It has to grab their attention, and those emails are going to, I would tell you, once again, be selective in your targeting. If you are in the Tampa Bay area. The Tampa Press Corps has some great people in it. The Tampa Bay Times. There's Bay News 9. There's all the Spectrum News of the world. I mean, they have plenty of phenomenal reporters and journalists over there. Be selective in your targeting. Make your pitch to them unique and make it individual so that they know you're not sort of just spamming out white noise into the abyss.
Okay, because I do get a global audience, so for those of you that aren't in the Florida area where I am, but just look for the local media that you're at. If there's a newspaper that you're into, even if there is let's say it's a circulation that's high, and it may not be like a very big paper, but in your area it's got a high circulation, get a hold of maybe the editor, or if you have a niche, you might look for the niche person that would be the person that's looking for a slow news day, and give them a little note saying, "Hey, I got something here that's going to help you with your beat reporting." So I get that right, David?
Absolutely. I think you nailed it on the head.
Right, non-media.
There's a lot of, before I go on, there's a lot of reporters and plenty of opportunities where it's more ideal to only go to them and offer them an exclusive, something that you won't offer any of their competitors, for them to break the news rather than to send it out to a broader list.
Oh, awesome. Excellent. That's good. So non-media. So
if you're going into non-media, I wouldn't necessarily call those press releases. I would call that your email marketing. I would call that your digital marketing. This is your space, really. This should be your bread and butter, because the media is a lot more niche. They're a lot different than everyone else. And when you're targeting your sort of home base audience, one, your messaging should be absolutely down. You should know, how you want to convey yourself, the way that you are coming across to them, what your goals are with them. If it's to, increase your listenership, if it's to get the attention of businesses, if it's to, get more and more people over to your business, that's in and of itself its own large category. And again, I think the white noise rule applies. Don't be white noise. Stand out without a doubt. Stand out in every which way, and don't be like your competitors. Look around at who your competitors are, what they look like, what branding looks like on their end, and make sure that you're not the same as them. You don't want to be just another face in the crowd. You want to stand out and be the voice that everyone hears.
All right, good. So on another front, I know that for our industry. And for your knowledge, I know that they don't actually have state OSHA plans for every state. So what happens is if your state doesn't have an OSHA, you would actually have to go through to see if you could get something on a ballot or get something where, your governor will make it something that they would run on, if you will. And back in the day, I wrote Governor Scott. I wrote him a letter about, hey, we need a Florida OSHA. And he was actually, I wrote it like congressman. I wrote everybody. He was the only one that responded to me, by the way. Everyone else, even my local people, did not respond. But for us, and this is probably on the governor's side of the work you're doing, how do you actually affect trying to make a change or trying to even reach someone like that to say, hey, we need to, is there a way I could get this to be one of your talking points or messaging for you? Maybe not this election, but somewhere when you're nice and comfortable and you don't have to worry about reelection.
Yeah, a couple of big thoughts right off the bat. One, I would tell you that don't disregard the constituency part of the job for any elected official. They really are accountable to the residents, their constituents, the voters of the state or the county or the city that they manage. And I wouldn't discount the impact that some of that can have. I would also tell you that partnering up with like-minded people regardless of what the issue is, regardless of what the talking point is, regardless of what the policy is, I would tell you that you might be stronger as a group. You might be stronger as a coalition that you might form in order to affect that change, and then do the outreach, and then, possibly hold an event, or possibly put out some press releases on the issue, or whatever it might be. But I think you might have some luck by banding together with folks that that are on your side.
Excellent. And I'm throwing these rapid fire at you because I know you're you're down with time. But since you're into the influence part, and you've been featured many a times on political magazines and 30 and 30,
Sure.
So it's been awesome to see as as I'm getting these things and your mom sends them to me. I'm like, yes, go do it. Moms, right?
That's classic, Connie.
Yep. So on influence, how do you gain influence? I know some of it is naturally. You'll see some people, like you mentioned, Governor DeSantis, people just like him. Just naturally people like him, right? So how do you gain that influence, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur and you're trying to get some sort of leverage as you're networking and you want to influence people, you want to seem like you're bigger than you are as far as a firm? What's kind of tips on that?
Yeah, I think some of the most successful people I've seen build an influence in their sphere is they are movers and shakers in their community. I would tell you that it's like the old adage that no man is an island. I would tell you that some of the best cases that I've seen of this, and I'm thinking of, I won't name some individuals. So there's individuals in Jacksonville and maybe one down in Miami who the reason that they're known and the reason that they stand out and the reason that they're able to affect change is because they are successful at the local level as far as being influencers in their community. So if the people in their community know them, they're likely to have either a cause or a business or an idea that people around them are drawn to and that they are able to push forward. And then before you know it, they've got, a following on social media, or they've got this event that people are talking about, or they've got this idea that the media is talking about, or they've got something that is drawing their attention down to them. And some of the best ones I've seen have usually been with some nonprofit organizations in the areas. And if you can leverage your local community, we always think of politics as who's president, who's in the Senate, what's going on in DC and yada, yada. But really it is almost the most impactful thing to be known in your community and to be seen within your peers in your community as the sort of change maker. And I think that's the way you sort of accumulate momentum. And then from that point, you can really sort of turn around and say, here's who I am, here's who's with me, and here's the organization that I've built or I've sort of amassed, and here's where we're going next. And I think that's the way that you get, the folks in the state capitol sort of look at you, and then, before you know it, people from around the country are sort of looking your way, and they're like, man, that organization really has it, is going places, that business is really going places, or that person is really going places. And you start, and I'm not talking about myself in this organization, in this instance here, but I mean, folks who have really been successful at drawing their community around them. And usually for a really good cause, usually for a nonprofit, a charity organization, sometimes for a really cool business venture that is coming out, usually something along the lines of students that I've seen over in Tampa Bay. There's a lot of sort of examples of this, but I would tell you, be a change maker in your community. And from that point, you can really build momentum and really become somebody of influence.
Yeah, and that really goes well with what I've seen, because truly when I first got started, And even when I teach people about how to how to have a viable business, I always say don't neglect talking to your friends, your family, people in church, and start that first. And that's usually going to be the people that know you, like you, trust you. And then you could build a business through those relationships, and they'll refer you to someone else, and then you can start leveraging that. But
exactly.
Then on the flip side, I have to tell them about email marketing, and then you have your list. Everyone needs a list, and autoresponders and everything else that goes with the list after that. So I have to, we work through those areas where you have to, create the image, if you will, that you're bigger than you are.
Sure.
But the influence always starts within, your circle of influence, if you will.
Exactly.
How about this? Now, no one on radio could see you, but anybody with eyes knows you're like one of these dashingly good-looking young people. Right? So if you look him up, David Vasquez. No, he's already taken. So all right, but
yeah, that's right.
But anyway, what do you feel about using all your God's talent with those people that are good looking or tall or extra whatever it is? Is that taking away from your smarts and taking away from whatever? If you also accentuate yourself as you're doing these networking meetings and you're going out there, because some people don't want to tell you they're hiring you because you look good, but it doesn't hurt, right? So what do you do? How do you get those people to come to terms with, sure, you look decent, you look good, you're in your community, you look like someone would really say, wow, they're good looking. So do you add that into your influence, into your marketing, into your presence, into maybe not selfies and everything, but how do you add that in and make it part of your business? Or do you just let that go and just let your work stand for yourself?
I'd usually like to think that I let the work just sort of stand for itself. I think no matter what your industry is or business is or influence sort of sphere is, before you know it, people will recognize good work, and they will recognize value. I think is the biggest thing. If you can create value and you can bring something to the table, I think that's what really sort of makes a difference. And I think that's where really a lot of people are able to sort of shine, or a lot of people are able to sort of stand out. I would say that's probably the biggest thing is being able to bring value to the table or to the organization or to the business.
All right, because usually I say, especially with like female clients who may be very good looking, and in a lot of the safety field, you end up going in male-dominated worlds as the safety officer, as a female. Sure. It might be kind of intimidating. So generally the thing I always say is, you're a person as long as you, present yourself professionally and you really seek to hear people. Don't be scared of your looks, but then also don't go the other side to, demand someone to look at you and, pay attention to you.
Sure.
So I believe there's a balance there where you should feel comfortable for yourself, but, it shouldn't be like every part of your marketing, that send a different message.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and truly marketing, communication, it's all in the same vein. So if you are your own marketer and your own communicator, then you got to think of all these things. Yes, it's part of the package. But I believe you're right on where your work should speak for itself.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead. You had a thought. I saw it go through the head.
You're absolutely right. There are plenty of people, I will tell you, in communications world, whether that's political or not political, who largely work behind the scenes, and they're not on camera. They don't do the radio interviews. They don't do a lot of the face-to-face time with reporters, but they do phenomenal work. And funny enough, in some cases, it's not for vanity or anything of the sort. It really is in some cases preference. In some cases it's just the talent level that is there behind the camera to put everything together and let things roll. I think there's something to be said for folks that could very well do the on-camera stuff and aren't, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I know a few years back you wrote an article regarding what people should do if they're targeting the millennials. And on the political side, you're saying, forget about everything else. Millennials just care about jobs. Just jobs, I believe was even the heading of your article back then. But for us in the safety world, we get to see now in the generations, there's 5 generations actively working in the, from, I guess, I forgot the generation before the baby boomers, silent generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So silent generations, then it's the baby boomers, me, the Gen Xers, then there's the millennials, and then now the Zs are in.
Yes.
So that's my son and I guess Sierra, my daughter, is the last of the Gen X last of the millennials, and my son
right.
Devin is the first of the Zs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are trying to reach these, because truly we go in and sometimes we're consulting, we're teaching people about safety and health and risk and some of the things that goes with that, but we want to be able to get our message across to each one of those generations. So if you're the spokesperson for the millennials in my interview right now, how do we reach out to millennials and truly give them information, or at least let them know that we want to reach them in a language and an understanding that they have, so they can stay as safe as everyone else?
Yeah, the generation gaps are fascinating, and what I've seen and noticed over the last couple of years is folks, private and public sectors, who have gone after the millennial attention, mm-hmm. and they came up with all these gimmicks and sort of like fads and trends that they think millennials might like. Yeah. And then I was fascinated by this because I thought it was so funny as I was going in, and you saw it in campaigns, you saw it in corporate ads, you saw it in so many things, and I was fascinated by this. I thought it was the funniest thing. Yeah. And ultimately, it's my absolute belief that millennials, and I think the generation that's coming after us too, has this unique new world that they're working in, and we are the biggest cohort of voters now. We've officially replaced the baby boomers as the biggest voting bloc that there is generationally, but we're also the most transient, which means we're more likely to move from city to city. And I think you'll see that. And I think if you know the millennials who are graduating college, by the way, graduating at higher rates than any other generation before us, you know that they'll move. You know that if they get a job opportunity in another city, in some big town somewhere, country, state, wherever it is, they will move and they'll take that opportunity. And it really is the sort of opportunity generation. And I think so many millennials that I know throughout, whether they went to college or not, whether they are in are in finance, or whether they're in tech, or whether they're in politics, whatever it is, I've seen them move all over the place, and they are taking jobs. And that's what they're really chasing. I think there's generations that chased, there's a greatest generation who sort of like stood up for country and did just incredible things for everyone and made that sacrifice. There's been generations who were really focused on home building. There's been generations that, led to, the rise of like the American cities. But now I think we are the generation that is chasing job opportunities and is looking to climb the ladder because of the fact that we have this explosion in every sector. Technology has absolutely, expanded everything. And now, the job that you never thought would be available or even exist, now it exists over in the next town over. And now it exists over in this new, venture that's popping up. And now it exists all over the place. And so I think when you're trying to get their attention and you're looking to get their focus for longer than 30 seconds, I think their message has got to be tailored around, what are you doing for them as far as an opportunity? And how is this a new opportunity, or how does it relate to their new job or the job that they want or the job that they're chasing? Because that really is, I think, the focus or the driver for our generation. Maybe that'll change. Maybe that'll change in 10 years when we get a little bit older. Who knows? But right now, I think the sky is the sort of limit for so many millennials, and they're really chasing jobs all over the country.
And they're so educated now, and truly OSHA started in 1971, so the whole lives of OSHA, of a millennial, they've had safety and health and OSHA and everything else. So coming into the workforce, they're actually a lot safer than the previous generation, because they think about this stuff. Mm-hmm. They have, helmets that they already had when they're younger, and now they know, hey, I'll wear a hard hat. So those, I do think that's good. Some of my audience, I hear a lot about is when they go into a workforce, maybe it's a millennial boss now because you're in their late 20s, early 30s, and you're business owners in some cases, and they want to reach out to them. So they want to sell them on tech, or they want to sell them on, here, our company will do an app for you or something like that. I don't know if that's going to be worth their while to spend the money to try to get an extra tech side or an app side just to sell a safety product to a millennial. Is that, would that be worth it, or is that case by case? If the value is there in having the app, or if the app provides you something that you can't get anywhere else in a convenience manner that you can't get anywhere else, then it might be worth it. It might be worth looking into. It might be worth developing. But don't follow the fads, right? If the app, I'll tell you this, if the app does something that you can do online in under 5 minutes, then you're certainly wasting your time there, right? But if there's a real value add, I will say there's definitely a way to go there. There's definitely a lane open for you there. I have a really cool thing that I only discovered a couple months ago in my phone that gives me a network. I didn't know about this, and this is where I'm starting to feel old in my in my later 20s now. But someone actually, probably a Gen Z, guy showed me this, and it blew my mind. I don't have this on my computer. It's not anywhere on my Outlook stuff, but on my phone, there's a setting. This is the work stuff, so it's sort of niche, but there's a setting in the contacts area on the iPhone that gives me access to every contact in my entire network for the company and people associated. So that blew my mind, and I was like, "There's, that is, absolutely." The most valuable thing I've seen so far. I'm like, my gosh, I can just pick up the phone and call, anyone I need over at accounting or over at, the business development side of it, or over at the creative, marketing guys. And I'm settling my issues in 3 seconds rather than try and fish down emails. If you actually identify a legitimate actual need, something that someone needs, and you could develop a solution that's quick, fast, keeps their attention. Right. If it's a repeat or something else, or it's a fad, don't waste your money. Exactly. If it can be done fairly quickly online on my computer, then it's really probably not worth your time or anyone else's time. And absolutely, yeah. And speaking about your business here, you mentioned, and the reason I know about it, of course, is because I'm family, but for Stand Together, right, was a Koch brother, and then you do have, hold on, I got a cheat sheet over here. It looks like Brian Hooks was also the chairman and CEO. So one of the things that they're really looking at was the hunger too. And trying to, I know that's one of the many things that they're looking at, right?
Yeah.
So for us in the safety world, we have been given a few other tasks for safety and health, because usually people that are in my field, we were in environmental, health, safety, and then they threw in security now. So we got to think about, what's going to happen if someone gets fired and then all of a sudden they go back to their car and whatever that is, right? So we, in this world, if we're now being safety consultants and security consultants in some ways, when you do have that kind of credibility to do both, for us, we're really thinking about all aspects of the individual in order for us to really get a safety culture. That's what we call it. We want to make sure that it's not just, be safe today. All right, see ya. But it's something that you do when you go home and everything else about your life. So we're thinking about fatigue. We're thinking about stress. We're thinking about, can this person who now is coming to work hungry, is this going to make them someone who is going to likely steal from us so that, they could feed their family? Or are they, impaired because they're, can't deal with life and therefore they need to cope other ways. Right. So those are some of the things where we cross over with life and safety. So for your company and some of the things that you guys are doing, is there a way for safety to be part of the process of what you're doing in order for it to maybe intersect, or maybe a way where the safety and health field might be able to partner with you guys in any way? Likely.
The safety part of it, I think, is huge. We do have, I think a lot of those things are thought of here in the organization. I think there's a lot of planning and sort of human resource work that has gone into a lot of this. So I would say, I'd say there's definitely an avenue for the safety and the concerns and sort of the thoughtfulness of the employees that goes into it.
Yeah. Is there anything on your website that we might be able to look at to say, hey, especially with the hunger part, are there things like what are tips to find if you notice things about people being hungry, and maybe because no one's going to tell you that, but maybe there's some certain things that you can find. And I've truly seen where workers were literally homeless, but yet they're showing up to work every day. Wow. And they're underpaid or underinsured in some ways, and then now that could actually be a health and safety issue for them. So I don't know if Of course, this is off the cuff, and I didn't give you any chance to prep on this. Sure. But just maybe decipher what I'm trying to say and break it down.
Yeah. No, I don't have an actual website link, but I will say I do think that's a huge part of a lot of philanthropic work that's going on around the country. And I think it's astounding to me that folks might be homeless and coming to work every day. I mean, God bless them that so many people are really dealing with a lot of these issues right here at home. So that's really something to always sort of consider. It's a tragedy that's actually happening here in America in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, plug away. I completely stole your day. I shanghaied your evening.
That's okay.
So plug away. Anything you want to plug, anything you've got, just nail it. Give us everything.
No, I just want to say I just want to say thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure, and anytime.
All right. So I got the family discount in getting him here on the interview. I appreciate it, nephew. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you want to be a safety consultant? Listen to Dr. Jay Allen of Safety FM give his experience after taking the Safety Consultant Blueprint course.
I have actually done research on different consultants and looked at different consulting courses and so on. There is a pretty fancy, very expensive consulting course that is out there. I have actually purchased the consulting course, was interested in it. It has good information, don't get me wrong. But you have a consulting course that really drives people onto focusing on safety and how to become a safety consultant. I will tell you, on your particular course, there was better information in that particular regards than the other consulting course that was more of a generalist form. But I felt like I got more information out of yours on you giving people direct path on what to do step by step. But I really think that you have a genuine good product there that can really assist people if they're interested in becoming a safety consultant.
Register for the Safety Consultant Blueprint at www.safetyconsultantblueprint.com. Enter code PODCAST for a special discount.
Welcome back to the Safety Consultant Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Primus. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and share it with a friend. Like it. I think you could like it. I'm not too sure. But I know for sure you could subscribe, right? So subscribe to it. And I just would pray and hope and just in my mind imagine that you're really getting some value out of each and every show. So just want to thank you for it. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach me at Sheldon at safetyconsultant.us. If you're a safety consultant and you want to get more resources and help, join our group. Go to safetyconsultant.us and look at that. Make sure that you understand what's going on there. But truly, it's a resource group. So it's a way for you to get all the information. I shouldn't say all, but get you going so you will have what you need for your safety consulting business. So the tip of the week is going to be pretty easy, and it's something that may not be mind-blowing, but it's something that we might forget, especially when you're going out there and you're trying to get some influence, you're trying to get some people to really understand you. So the tip of the week is be yourself. That's it. As simple as it is, be yourself. You may be nervous when you first get out there and you want to portray that you're a bigger business than you're not, and all those things, that the trappings that come with wanting to look as if you are a conglomerate versus a solopreneur, a one-person band. That's okay. You could project confidence, but still be yourself. And be direct. That's one of the things we learned from the interview. So be direct about what you want. Be confident. Make sure that you are yourself, whatever your personality is. So just be yourself. That's the best thing, because it's not sustainable if you're not yourself. What will happen is if you put on a show for someone else and try to get the business, more and more times that they do business with you, they're going to start seeing, hey, this isn't the person that you portrayed yourself to be. And then all of a sudden, there's going to be a disconnect, and then you're not going to be able to complete the work like you should. So go ahead, be genuine, be yourself, be assertive, yes, because you need the job. So you want to make sure that you're going to plan ahead of time for each one of your meetings. You want to be prepared, and you want to make sure that you're assertive in letting everyone know that, hey, this is the best thing for your company. I am the best thing for your company. And that is the best way to go about it. So that is the tip of the week. And I am going to be off, getting out of here for the week. But I want to make sure that you guys have what you need. So again, go to safetyconsultant.us, join our group there, or reach out to me with an email, Sheldon at safetyconsultant.us. Have a great rest of your week and go get them.
This podcast is being sponsored by safetyconsultantblueprint.com.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.